I'm Chris.
I'm Sandy.
And this is Parenting Autism.
Here we go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 97 of the Parenting Autism podcast. You might be here looking for encouragement or hope or answers, or maybe all the above. And we just want to let you know that we're here for you.
And we're doing our best to provide those things.
That's right.
All right, I'm just going to say right from the beginning, it's a little bit later than we normally record. It's a Friday night after a long week, but we have a lot of information and a very busy weekend, and we wanted to get on here and share.
We always have a lot of excuses, don't we? Well, we're sick, we're this, we're that.
I know, but I just thought I'd put it out there. If I yawn, this would be why. But we really do have a lot of information to share. And I feel like I have a little bit of mixed emotions about this because we've just gotten a lot of recent news about Bryce, and it answers a lot of questions for us, but it also opens a lot of doors that we know we're going to have to walk through to help him. And I'm hoping that by sharing this, there will be other families that maybe it will be an aha moment for them, and they will realize
they need
some
to do
more
that.
ways to help their children. Yeah. So that's why I really feel this is so important to kind of give it its own episode and share.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And yes, so Sandy's getting a drink because she gets all choked up when we do the show.
That and I have issues. I'm not crying. Now, that's not to say that I won't at some point, but no, it's because my throat's scratchy. But so we mentioned recently that we took Bryce down south from where we live here in South Florida, a little further south, and we had some testing done. What was the name of the college, babe? I always botch it up.
Nova Southeastern University.
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay.
I'm sticking to it.
Okay. So we took him down to the university. We had vision testing done, which we're still waiting for those results. And we had audio testing done. And quite honestly, you and I both thought that the vision would be more of revelations than the audio.
Which we don't even know yet.
Right. We don't even know the vision.
Because we don't have the results.
But I guess we weren't expecting to learn this much with the audio. That's fair to say, right?
I thought that it would pretty much come back normal. That's what I thought.
Right. So we were not expecting all this. But
how many hours was it?
I think
3 hour test? I think it was a 3 hour test.
Yeah, it was 3 hours. And I know we talked about it the last episode, a little bit of him going through the testing. And we did mention that the doctor told us immediately that she knew that he had an auditory processing disorder. So she prepped us that day that they were finding some things. But now we have the paperwork that actually spells some things out for us. I'm going to read some of it because when you and I both read it, we were like, wow, that really describes Bryce.
And just so people have a picture, this report is like 4-5 pages long of results, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to read the whole thing,
Lord,
obviously,
no.
but I just want people to know how comprehensive this testing was.
Yes. They call it a APD integration profile. And so I'm going to try to just kind of skim through here to read these results. So again, my goal of sharing this is that it will ring familiar, that maybe someone else will think, oh, maybe I should have my child done, tested for the auditory.
Listen, we shared these results with his speech and OT therapist, and his speech therapist said, this is Bryce.
She was wowed.
Yeah. She's like, this is spot on Bryce.
Yeah.
And so,
So it's been very, very interesting and eye-opening. So it says children with auditory integration problems They may have trouble processing rapid connected speech discourse because it takes longer for them to, in quotes, digest what has been said due to an inefficient ability to use both sides of the brain together or to connect hearing to other input-output modalities. I know modality is a big word. But basically, we had kind of described it last time that the doctor told us there's like a highway that runs between the two sides of your brain, and Bryce's highway seems to be under construction or something because they're not communicating clearly. That's part of the problem. And it says here, the issue may be where it's between the two brain hemispheres, or it might be within the same hemisphere, but she believes it's between his left and right side. So receptive and expressive language skills may be deficient, including, I'm trying not to do the technical stuff. Pragmatic skills and ability to communicate effectively with peers may be affected by difficulty associating words, tone of voice, facial expressions, speech cues, and all of that applies to Bryce pretty much. We're trying to teach him that. The most significant is their difficulty understanding parts to whole concepts, recognizing patterns, or organizing pieces of information into a whole picture. So instead, they may get stuck focusing on irrelevant details. Reading and spelling deficiencies are also commonly expressed due to difficulties with sensory integration and sequential thought processes. So I know, like with Bryce, if you are reviewing a book with him or a story and you're trying to see what he got out of it, he will tell you what seems to be to us the most irrelevant part of it, right? Something that we're like, really? That's what you got out of that? But that's where his mind is getting stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that kind of rang a bell there. Now, this says in a classroom because Bryce is homeschooled, but he also at therapy is with other children and getting simultaneous therapy sessions, so it could apply there too. But in a classroom, the child with an auditory integration deficit may take a wait and see approach because they're going to watch what the others are doing before they begin their tasks. They have difficulty knowing how to do what is required, and often they need additional time for completing assignments. So I'm going to break some of this up. In school, he really depends on you a lot. And he'll say, Daddy, I need you. I can't do that. And I know you've been trying to kind of step away or kind of pull back a little bit to see how much he could independently work.
But
tough. He continues to express that he needs you. And I think this is one of the reasons he's not copping out. I think he genuinely needs you or somebody to be there to help him.
He really has trouble comprehending what he's hearing. And I don't know. It's just so weird. When he reads, he replaces words that aren't there. He omits words. He's had trouble with phonics and spelling, sounding things out. And I always thought it was vision related because maybe he didn't see the word that he was reading, or why did he replace it with something else? And that may still be part of the issue. We don't know yet. We haven't gotten the results, but...
Well, if I could
go ahead.
Bounce on that. On here, it says, the first sentence, auditory integration profile relates to weak connections between the hearing reception center in the brain and other related sensory areas, most notably vision.
Yeah.
So there you go. Continuing on what you're saying, this is what is describing Bryce here. It says, in many cases, they must be shown a task repeatedly until it sticks, or they will need to be taught an alternative way to get the job done. And as the task demands increase, children with auditory integration deficits become less able to tolerate distractions, especially if they expend more effort trying to figure out what comes next. Although their processing skills are with the correct answer if given enough time to respond, reading and listening comprehension may be difficult for these kids, which is what you just said, especially when they're asked to recall specific details such as a who or a what, a where, a when, or a why. Have struggles just repeating that back even after he's seen or heard it. Children with auditory integration deficits are sometimes described as being lazy or inattentive and characteristically respond to questions by saying, I don't get it or I don't know how. Mm-hmm. And I could see that if you were a teacher in a classroom and you're seeing all these other kids getting it or, trying, they think you're just copping out saying, I don't know. I don't know. But Bryce will genuinely say, I don't know. And he really doesn't know. Yeah. It's not trying.
Because it didn't go in and process. It just didn't process.
Yeah. They are often, this nails him. They are often overly concerned with time and the amount of time and asking, what time is it? How much longer? Mm-hmm. How many more? And if you've listened to our podcast, we've brought him on here a few times recently, and you've been asking him questions. Mm-hmm. What does he ask you before he even answers the first one? How many questions? He needs to know how much, so he knows how much time he's going to be in here, because that's where his mind will be thinking if he doesn't have that answer as he's processing your questions. Mm-hmm. So, it's like that kind of stuff. I'm not going to do that next paragraph because that was a lot of doctor.
You can just read what I highlighted.
I am. I'm kind of sticking there. It did say here about auditory visual clues must match, or he could get mixed messages, and you highlighted that, and I could definitely see that. Telling the child instructions and then showing the child what to do. So listen, then look, as opposed to listen and look. Mm-hmm. So if you break it down instead of putting it together, and I know they work with him in therapies a lot. That's been something they've been trying to progress, where he could do 1-step, 2-step, 3-step, 4-step progressions, and he struggles.
He has trouble with that.
He has struggle with that because he can only retain so many. No, good news for us is that one of the highly recommended techniques for this is musical instrument training. And we've had Bryce in music therapy, and we've had him with lessons for both drum and piano. And
unbeknownst to us, it was helping.
And apparently it's been helping. So we're continuing that, and he restarted his piano lessons. But singing, dancing, and then linguistic labeling of tactile stimuli. That's getting a little techie there, but they say here the game Simon Says and Mother May I strengthens both integration and the ability to listen for and extract key information. So I think we'll play that with him because it's making him realize, oh, I get to do that. Oh, I don't get to do that, in the Simon Says. So that's something I really haven't played with him much, but I can see that being good and something we can definitely handle. They even said like some toy ideas. Do you remember that game Simon when we were a kid, and it had like 4 colors, the red, the blue, the yellow, the green?
Yeah.
And it kind of like made a beat and you had to follow that beat. They're recommending that because A, it's got music, and then B, he has to think about that and follow that pattern. Cool. So that would be a fun thing for him to do. I'm not familiar with Bop It. BOPIT, but it's probably something like that. And they're talking about patterns. They recommended gymnastics, cheerleading, and baton. So I'm not sure that I would get him into cheerleading or baton, but gymnastics is something that he may enjoy too.
When he was younger.
Yeah, and when we had him in the early Special Olympics, they kind of had that. Yeah.
This is funny.
Oh boy, something's funny.
What are you showing me, buddy?
I dropped the iPad by accident because it slipped out of my hands. Here, watch. This is funny.
Okay.
Watch.
Oh my goodness.
Do you like the eels?
Hey, Bryce, can you come back and close the door, buddy? Bryce.
He said spawning eels.
Okay, thank you.
Gets a kick out of his YouTube videos.
He does.
Speaking of YouTube videos, I took him to Home Depot today, and we needed an air conditioning filter and charcoal. And I recorded him going through the store. We started at the entrance. I said, Bryce, this is all you. I want you to go in here, find the stuff, and then check out. And so we did. You'll see it on the.
I have to see it. I know.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting. So it's on our YouTube channel, Parenting Autism. If anybody wants to go and watch it and see what it was like.
Yeah,
so.
I think that's great. I was telling you too, like when we go to Chick-fil-A, I'm trying to have him place our order so he can get more
Life
familiar
skills.
with talking with people. Yeah. Okay, so back to the pattern recognition. They said cooking or doing household chores have a specific order could help him. So like following a recipe kind of thing. And then they just said working jigsaw puzzles, building a model airplane. He's not really big into the puzzles, but if we could try to maybe get him into doing a model of something that the end result would interest him, then that would be good. So just trying to use those visual techniques. So that was a big chunk of it and what we got out of that. And I also have his speech and language evaluation that I had mentioned recently because we had just got it and it was a little sad for me. But now, it like on the heels of that, we got this information and it makes so much more sense to me why he would score poor and very poor. And I got it here and he scored poor in listening, poor in organizing, and I think that's organizing his thoughts, very poor in speaking, very poor in grammar, poor in semantics. Do you know what semantics is?
No.
I really don't either.
I don't remember.
I don't know. I'm not that technical. And then very poor for spoken language total. So, it's like your kid coming home with F, F, D, F,
and
D,
what do we tell him?
F.
You did great.
I know, because I don't want him to feel bad, but we're going to help him. And they scored him with his word level is good. Yay. So that's like a C. His conversation level is fair. So I'll take that as a C minus because he tries.
I think it's better.
He does. He tries really hard. And then they gave him some strengths. So I want to read his strengths as any mommy would want to after that report card. His strengths are auditory and visual, alert and attentive. He responds to greetings. He is easily separated from his parents. He's interactive. He takes turns. He initiates activity and dialogue. He follows verbal commands with cues, and he makes requests. So those are his strengths. His not so strengths, we'll say it that way. Poor use of eye contact, use of only a narrow range of speech acts, such as questions. And that's true, he doesn't ask a whole lot, unless he wants to know if you like what he's watching on a YouTube video. Perseverations, unusual body language, self-stimulation behaviors, problems with organization and relevance, irrelevant replies to questions, and weakness in conversational repair, which they put in parentheses, failure to request a clarification or signal that he's not understanding something or apologize if he doesn't understand something. Yeah, he's just not there. So, we have a lot of areas that we can improve upon. I just want to reiterate, we have so many areas that we have improved upon, and he's come a long way. This is just part of our journey. And this whole thing, it has not made me cry. It really hasn't. It has made me a little sad, of course. I mean, I don't know that you can't be sad when you get this kind of information, right?
I'm sorry, everyone, if you came here for encouragement.
That's why I gave the strengths. But I am encouraged that we're getting answers to help him. And I'm serious about that. I mean, isn't that a positive thing? Because what if we just kept going along in the dark and we're like, man, he just it's not getting it. Why isn't he getting it? Now we know. We have an answer. And we have possibilities of solutions to help him. And I think that's just where I'm focusing, because we're 10 years into parenting now, because he's 9, right? So we're in our 10th year. And it's been a heck of a decade parenting him. It really has. We've had a lot of ups and downs, and we're working on finishing this book about the early years, and we're about to go into the next phase. But the good news is I feel like God opened our eyes and opened our minds to find this information so that we can now reframe life to how we're going to help Bryce going forward. And I want to say, did you already say this? That
yes, I already said it. No, what?
I don't want to be redundant, little snorter. Oh, we're tired. But I don't think you said this on the podcast. See, we talk too much about this stuff before we come on here.
But, come on, spit it out.
Okay. So I told you when I picked him up the other day from speech that Miss Kaylee told me that she and Miss Crystal, both his speech language therapists, are going to take CEU classes.
Yes, you told me.
But I didn't tell the people.
No.
Specifically in this area so that they can help Bryce.
Yes, they're going to study central auditory processing disorder as an elective of their continuing education.
How about that? Thanks for clarifying that. It is pretty amazing. And I'm just saying
we're thankful for them.
We are thankful for them.
They're a great team. We have an amazing team. And this is something to point out is when you get results for your child, you need to pass them along to everybody on your football team. Like you gotta pass it along.
If you have a game plan, you got to share it with everybody.
Music therapist, your speech, OT, ABA, whatever you got, share it with them so they can better work with your kiddo.
Yeah. So you sent this over to them. They read it and they're like, wow. And it's kind of like, what can we do? That's what they're thinking immediately. And again, and then there's other recommendations for this equipment apparatus that would really help him as well. Mm-hmm. And one of his occupational therapists, Charity, went to the owner to see if they could get it. And they understand that this isn't only going to help Bryce. This is going to help other children that haven't even been diagnosed with this.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, listen, it's a lot to parent a child with autism. And then you add all of the doctors and appointments and this and that to your schedule, and it can be overwhelming. And I can totally understand why some people don't even want to go there. Like, I don't even want to.
Because it's exhausting thinking about it sometimes.
It's too much. I'm already doing too many things. How am I going to add that, right?
Yeah.
And listen, right now our schedule is full to the hilt with doctor appointments and results and this and that and school and everything else in life.
On that, I think we haven't shared the EEG results because we didn't have them yet.
Well, we're going to see him Monday.
Right. We just know that there's still some spikes in the air. So I guess we'll have more information next time. But speaking of the busy schedule, that's just another trip north to Orlando, a couple hours for Monday. But we do these things because we really want to do what's best for Bryce. And it does take a selfless act to do it all the time. And sometimes you do want to be selfish, like I just want to go take a nap, and I don't mean selfish in a mean way, but then you also do have to take care of yourselves, and you can't be too selfless because it's important that we take care of ourselves. So you have to find that healthy balance. I mean, I know this sounds petty, but I hadn't had my toes done in a really long time. I jammed this is a lot of information, people, but I jammed my big toe the end of May last year. Okay. So it's been that long on a wheel of a suitcase when we were on vacation. And I didn't know until they went to go do my toes, but it was bruised and I knew it hurt. So that toe has been healing, and we're in our colder months in Florida, so I haven't been wearing sandals. I've been wearing my boots because I can do it for just a couple months out of the year. But I wanted to get my toes done. I got my nails painted green for the Eagles, who did our best, but we lost. These are all things I'm just telling you out of my world. But I got there, and the girl was working on my toes, and she looks at me, and half of my toenail was coming up and off of my foot. Thank God it wasn't hurting me, but I looked at it and my jaw dropped and hers dropped. And then she's like, she's saying, you want me to take it off?
You're making people barf right now.
I said, yes, please do. It is kind of gross. But
yes, it is.
The new nail was underneath there. And now I have this beautiful new toe. And I'm sharing this. Why am I sharing this?
I don't know.
Because I needed to take care of myself. I didn't even know I had a bad toe because we've been taking care of Bryce with all these appointments and stuff. So I'm just saying, I did feel so much better. I'm not kidding. After I came back from that appointment and I had a manicure and I had a pedicure and I knew that I did something for myself, So while I'm saying, yes, we are doing a lot for Bryce, it's really important that every now and then you do something for yourself. And I know, like for us, we've been trying to do these date nights on Friday, and my mom has really stepped up to just say, hey, I'm home on Friday nights, you can bring them. I know she wasn't home tonight, but it's been wonderful. And we're trying to really intentionally make more time for ourselves. And I think that's really important too, because if we don't stay strong together, and if we don't individually take care of ourselves, then we're not going to be in the best position to take care of Bryce.
Yeah. So
I just have to get all that out. Thank you. Now I can sleep. Good night. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
One might be wondering.
Why does Sandy talk about her toenail? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Why did you go down the path with the whole vision and hearing thing?
Okay. That's true. Why did we do that? No, I do know why, but go ahead.
So Bryce had his annual vision test on the calendar. And
wait a minute. Where did you take him last year for vision? Oh, just a
locally.
Regular eye doctor. Yeah. Just to a regular optometrist.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
And I'm like, does he really need to go there? And I'm like, well, he's still having trouble reading. Maybe there's an issue with his eyes. So
you bought the eye chart?
I bought the eye chart on Amazon. And we did the test at home because I'm like, I can save myself a trip. and 2 hours out of my day.
Dr. Coulter.
And so he did okay on the vision test. I felt like a couple of the lines were fuzzy. So I was thinking, okay, well, I'll probably take him because he wasn't 100% on the test, my test. And it was that time we were doing the conference from the Autism Community in Action.
Taka.
And
sorry, Taka.
The lady came on about the vision.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, I had no idea that vision isn't just an eye test. Vision affects like almost every part of the brain. And the typical optometrist just measures like how well you can see, not how well you process what you see.
Correct.
So
correct.
I'm like, oh, maybe that's what we need to do with Bryce, because his vision last year was 20/20. Guy said, hey, there's no problem with him. No problem at all. He's doing great. Okay, thanks. Bye. It was
right.
Half an hour in the office. Thank you. Bye. And then when I was looking for this, I don't know, this vision person, I don't even know how I came across Nova Southeastern University.
Okay.
But I did. I did.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then I
think God led you there.
Well, obviously, yes. Well, that's goes without saying, but
I know. How did you really? What took you down that trail?
So I found that, and then lo and behold, I found that they had a special hearing screening for kids with autism and brain injuries, right?
Right.
I'm like, whoa, that's a double thing there, because he's got autism and has a brain injury. So I'm like, okay, now I'm intrigued, and I read more, and I'm like, oh, we have to do that too while we're down there. I'm glad we did.
Well, yes, and I have thanked you multiple times, and I'll thank you again on the air, but I have thanked you multiple times for even setting up that appointment. You and I did listen.
go down rabbit holes.
You do.
Some of them are good. Some of them
you have gone down
time,
a lot, and that's okay because, hey, that's how you pan for gold, isn't it, babe?
Yeah, I guess that's a good analogy.
So you found a gold. You found some gold.
Yep.
Yeah, because when you were, you had said, it's time for us to do all the talk listening. Or
I
all
know,
the
and
things.
you're like, I don't want to.
I'm like, how am I going to fit that in, man? And then you're like, we have to put it on the schedule. If we don't put it on the schedule, it won't get done. And I blocked out a few Saturdays.
And it was a womp.
I'm like, oh, but then you started doing it a little bit at a time. And then you said, I want you to listen to this one about the vision. And you had me at vision because, again, Bryce's brain injury is the area of vision. And I still wonder, how much of this is from brain injury and how much of this is from autism and how do they go hand in hand. But I was in here that morning when she was talking about it, and boy, did I just tune in, and I'm like, ding, 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 there's really something here. So I knew we needed to go do that. And then you're like, well, I set him up for the auditory too. I'm like, okay, when is that? And then you're like, well, that's going to be the next week on Wednesday. Yeah. But once again, God knew. And I had the business trip down there, and we didn't have to take a second trip. We were able to get his part 2 of the eye 2 days before the ear appointment, and we were able to just stay down there. So it really just all fell into place. And again, we weren't expecting much from the auditory. We really were not. I think it was just, I would have never thought to go and pursue how his brain processes information through the ears and again, through the eyes.
Again, his hearing is fine.
Perfect.
So if you would have gone to an audiologist, regular audiologist, he can hear great.
His eardrums are great.
But they don't test how he processes the sound.
That's the key. Processing,
the brain
processing. Connection. Yeah. So I really, really hope and pray that as people find this particular podcast episode.
I know somebody's out there going, aha.
I'm hoping that. And if it's not today, this will be on the airways for a while. And even in the future, somebody's going to hear this. Or it's going to make a therapist who listens to this show go, oh my goodness, that makes me think of so-and-so that we're helping. And they can go get, the education and the tools or pursue it more.
Here's another aspect of it is, I got these issues with my feet. And so my last resort was going to a university hospital, which is a teaching hospital. And they have the latest technology, the latest techniques. Doctors are super smart, and they have students there helping them. And it's really an amazing environment. And that's what we found with Bryce when we took him down to Miami Children's after his stroke. Yes. It was like a totally different atmosphere, urgency, and everything. Like
and educational, because we got to ask the questions while the students were asking questions. So we were a part of the whole process.
So when we went to Nova Southeastern University, same thing. It's a university. They have students that are there under the supervision of the doctors who are super smart, and they're helping the students and they're teaching the students as they do these tests. And it's just an amazing environment. They're using the latest technology and the latest procedures, and it really is amazing. It's just not something that you're going to get at your local shop.
Right.
Yeah. So, on that note, let me read a review we got.
Okay.
This will make it nicer, right?
Well, we're trying to be uplifting here. Yeah.
So, a listener from Australia gave us 5 stars. They said, great podcast as the title. Thank you so much for sharing your story. This podcast has helped me and my wife so much as we start our own journey with parenting autism. So they must be early on the road.
Yeah.
And that's from SJ Mac 10 from Apple Podcasts Australia. So we appreciate our listeners all over the world that write us, that give us reviews, that, tell us, hey, we're in the same boat. Thanks for the podcast.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like, we're one of the top podcasts in Canada now on parenting. It's just.
Well, it's really neat. And I have this book. It's a book by Priscilla Shire that it's called 90 Days. It's like a devotional. And then you have like a couple pages behind each day that you can kind of write out your thoughts or prayers. I must have done that book the first time right when we were starting this podcast. So I'm going back and I'm reading what I wrote 4 years ago when we started this. And I'm just saying, I don't know what's going to happen, but I know that God's laid this on our hearts. And I was just praying over the podcast and that it would help people and it would reach out to families, that we would stay humble, that we would, what it's all about God and however he wants to use us. We just want to be vessels to help other families. And that was really our true heart. And that's what I was really praying 4 years ago. And that's what we've seen happen. And every time we have somebody reach out to us, and we even had somebody reach out this past week that wants to kind of talk with us and collaborate a little bit, but they have recommended our podcast, to their group and on their website, and helping to spread this, information that families can find valuable.
Yeah.
And tonight we did a FaceTime call with a couple little boys who are also on the spectrum, and I've connected with their mom, and she's like, I think maybe Bryce and Zachary will get along. And I'm like, well, that would be great. And it's been busy between the two of us, but we finally made the call, and Bryce is like trying to show his stuff, and Zachary and his brother Noah are trying to show Bryce all their stuff. And I mean, it was just really cool moments. And I told Bryce before we called, I said, do you want to meet a new friend? And he's like, yes. And I said, well, I think he's close to your age. And he also, he likes trains, and he likes Mario, and he also has autism like you. And then he just goes, oh, cool. Okay. I like to talk to him. And that's how I put it. And, and then they connected. So,
yeah.
Do you want to bring him in here?
I do in a minute. There was something else I wanted to say. And
did you love me? Happy Valentine's.
I love you. Happy Valentine's Day.
Oh, can I just say for Valentine's that you and Bryce surprised me at the office, which was really sweet. You're knocking on my door, and I'm like, oh, I have like this glass door that you can't see through. So I go and I let them in, and they had 2 balloons and some red tulips for me, which the tulips are my favorite flower, so thank you. Yeah. And so there was a golden heart balloon, which Bryce loves all things gold, so of course he picked that out. And then there was a slice of pizza that says, you have a pizza in my heart. And so I guess they took a picture because there was a third balloon that you had picked out for me, and it was a red one, and it got loose and flew up in the sky. But what cracked me up was when you're telling me this, Bryce says to you, Daddy, you just wasted your money on that balloon.
I know.
Because it went in the sky. But then I told you, thank God it wasn't his balloons that went up in the sky, right? Because that could have made actually, I think it would have made everything different. So
we wouldn't have been there.
It
we would have went
remained
back to the store. We would have drove a half an hour back to the store to get another balloon, and then a half an hour back to your work.
So it worked out great, and we were able to have a surprise Valentine
And of course, there
together.
was all the questions about where'd the balloon go? Did it go to outer space? Where did it land? How high did it go? Is a plane going to hit it? Oh my goodness!
Teaching opportunities.
Oh my goodness, it was fun.
Yeah, but thank you, my Valentine.
You're welcome. So if you haven't been to our website lately, parentingautismshow.com, we have some new blog posts there. If you want to make a donation and receive a painting from Bryce, you can go to our Facebook page, our Parenting Autism Facebook page, and it's pinned at the top about what it's all about. But what's your Venmo thing that they can send a message through there?
Send me a message,
right?
Correct.
So what's your Venmo handle thing?
Sandy_Coulter_1.
Okay.
At Venmo?
Okay.
I don't know. I don't pay myself often.
Isn't it at Sandy, SANDY _COLTER_1? So.
And there's a picture of me and you.
Yeah. You can send a minimum.
It's whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
There's no minimum. There's
and
no maximum.
That'll go toward our Philadelphia trip.
Yeah.
That we're doing the autism walk.
$20 to $200.
Yeah.
I mean, we received one that not everybody does 200, trust me.
Right.
But we've had a wide range. I will say that we are now over $600 in donations.
Yay.
I mean, isn't that wonderful?
That is
and he
amazing.
got another one today. So the minimum for us to do the Eagles Autism Foundation walk is $775 for the three of us.
Just to participate.
That's minimum, just to be able to participate.
Yeah.
So that's obviously goal number one. And
getting there from Florida is goal number 2.
Getting there from Florida is goal number 2. But we're making progress on this, and and the fun part is that Bryce is enjoying making these, and when people get them, they're so happy, and they have places they're going to hang them. The lady today, I said, I know you really take an interest in Bryce, and I know you're not on my Facebook page, but I wanted to show you what he's doing, because I said, if you want to, and it's really, there's no pressure. And she's like, oh, I would love to. And she goes, my word is breathe. And I just looked at her, she goes, breathe. No, that's too long for him. That's too many letters. And I said, it probably would be. I could ask him. She goes, no, hope. And she teared up. And then she goes, I need one that says hope. And I said, okay. And she wants the color blue. Mm-hmm. And so now he gets to make her a blue canvas with the word hope in his golden letters. And she already knows where she's going to hang it. She's got other words throughout her house.
Oh,
and
nice.
Some people are hanging them in their offices. Mm-hmm. Some people have them at home. One's hanging in somebody's bathroom. One's displayed in a hallway. Wow. One's in their bedroom. I mean, it's neat, and it's in different states. And another listener, shout out to Brianna, she's sending a check now. And then a big shout out to Miss Sandra Smith. She's like an amazing woman who, she told me she doesn't even have anybody in her immediate family that's on the autism spectrum, but she really cares about our family and Bryce, and always gives us encouragement and kind words. And she didn't even want a painting. She's just like, I just want to donate, and she's just
that's amazing.
Kind. So we're so grateful again that we are just reaching people of all walks of life, and we are excited to be a part of doing a big fundraiser
and spreading
for
awareness
for the foundation there in Philadelphia that is helping so many families there in Pennsylvania, which I'm sure in turn help other families throughout the world.
So basically, you pick your color that you want on the canvas, a solid color, and then you pick your word, and Bryce has 3 words that he's doing: hope, or joy, or love.
That's right.
So one of those 3 words can go on the canvas in his gold glitter glue that he loves so much, and then we ship it out to you. So it's great.
It's really been a great project. We're having a lot of fun with it.
I'm going to ask you the questions I'm going to ask him.
Okay.
Do you like playing outside or inside more?
He's gonna.
No, you.
Oh, you're asking me?
Yes.
Oh, play? I prefer to play outside.
Me too. Why?
Oh, on a nice day, I really like the fresh air.
Yeah, me too.
Takes me back to my childhood because I played outside a lot when I was a kid.
What was the best gift you ever received?
Ooh. Best gift I ever received. Yikes.
Pass.
Well, there's so many. I'm sorry, one didn't come right away. Okay, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you the best. It was kind of like a gift. So the one that probably stands out in my mind the most was Valentine's 10 years ago. And I saw the picture. You had all these different cards laid out for me when I woke up, and you had a different word on the front of each envelope. telling me that you love me and that we were going to go on this wild adventure. And then inside of each of those cards were clues, like a scavenger hunt, as to where we were going and what we were doing. Yeah. And I was pregnant with Bryce at that time. So I remember this very well because I was in that first trimester where I was pretty sleepy, but it was a full day. And the first place that you took us to was a lunch that you had arranged over on Hutchinson Island, near the place where we had gotten married. So you arranged that, and then we left there and we went down to Palm Beach, and you picked a chick flick at my favorite theater down there, because at that time, 10 years ago, they didn't have all these nice luxury theaters like they do now. So we went to that theater. If you asked me what movie, I couldn't tell you now, but it was a good one.
We went to a show, right?
Well, and then the next clue was a dinner.
Yeah.
We went to dinner at an Italian place, and then you took me to see Wicked, which I had wanted to see when we went to New York and we couldn't get tickets, and they were down in Fort Lauderdale, which is like 2 hours south of us. Yeah. By the time we got there, it was 8 o'clock at night, and I was like so wiped out, and I'm like, oh, but so much thought was into it. So we did watch it, and I did stay awake the whole time. I did enjoy it. And then you got us a hotel room through
Priceline?
Like through Priceline. And it was like an Asian themed hotel.
Modern.
It was so cool. Like a really cool room and everything. And that was our Valentine's Day. So like to me, I love experiences as gifts. So when you asked me that first question, I was trying to think of a tangible gift.
Oh, okay.
But the best gift for me is an experience. And to me, I think because of the whole element of surprise and all the thought that you put into it, I would say that is my best gift.
Awesome. Last one. If you were invisible for a day, what do you think you would do?
That's an awesome question. I don't think I would sneak on anybody. There's nothing I really want to know, but what could I do for the day?
I don't know.
I want to be creative with this answer. But
I know what I would do.
What would you do? Give me an idea.
I would sneak onto a cruise, a cross ocean cruise.
Is this like for a whole day?
Oh, wait a minute. Then I'd become visible the next day, wouldn't I? That wouldn't work.
And you'd be busted and put in jail or something.
They'd be like, what cabin are you in? I don't know. So only for a day. That's a good one.
Well, invisible, okay, if it was a Sunday during football season, I would go to an Eagles game for sure and get the best seat. Like
go down on the field,
down
right?
on the field by their bench.
Yeah, there you go.
100%.
100%. Okay, let's bring him in.
Okay, those were fun questions. Thanks.
Let's see what he said.
Okay. Oh, my gosh. You're going to ask him the invisible one?
I think so, yeah.
That's awesome. I think he knows what that means. This ought to be fun.
Good okay. Job. All right. So, do you like 3 questions? Ready? Do you like playing outside or inside more?
I probably like playing inside more because it's more safe.
Oh, good answer. Okay, next question. What was the best gift that you ever received?
Probably my Nintendo Switch.
Yeah,
I agree.
Okay, last question. If you were invisible for a day, for one whole day, nobody could see you, what do you think you would do?
Nothing.
Nothing?
I don't think I'll play my games.
No?
If you're invisible?
If nobody could see you,
where would you go?
Where would you go?
You'll go like outside.
And do what?
And play outside.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But nobody could see you.
Yeah. It's like a shadow clone.
Like a shadow clone?
I don't even have the definition for that.
I like that phrase.
That's good. All right, Shadow Clone. Thanks for answering the questions.
You're welcome.
And do you want to say bye?
Bye.
All right. Thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, yeah.
What do you say?
I almost something.
All right.
A shadow clone. All right. That was good. All right. Well, we wrapped up 97.
Yep.
Thanks for listening to a lot of my rambling and a lot of our information and bearing with my toenail story. I'll try not to do that again. You guys have a great week, and we'll be back again soon with the next update for the cultures.
Yep.
Here we are, signing off.
Blessings.
Bye.
Bye.